Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. It is chamber check-in time, and today we are here with Larry Flynn of Larry Flynn Benefit Events. And I'm so excited to have Larry share his story with us today. First of all, Larry, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your business is, and then we'll get into how it started and the history.
Okay, well, I'm a benefit auctioneer by profession, meaning that I work with nonprofit organizations through their events and hopefully work with them to produce successful fundraising events for the nonprofit's mission. I've been doing it close to 30 years. I love what I do. I miss it tremendously. My last live event was actually for the chamber last month for the Chamber Gala, which was a completely different look than it was in previous years. And then the last event before that was actually Saturday, March 7th down in Los Angeles. I worked a fundraiser, came home on the 10th, and then the world began to go in a different direction when it came to events. So the beard is not something I started in March, although it would be pretty bushy by now. I actually started this on October 31st, the day we lost Sean Connery. But all the years that I've known about No Shave Movember, I wanted to do it, but I haven't because I have had events and I like to be clean shaven for my events. But today I see you and I are celebrating Men's Health this month. So thanks for that. Anyway, my business actually began back in the 90s when I decided I would try to create a business out of something that I had been doing as a volunteer for years. My microphone experience began at about age 18, 17, really. This is me on the air at Wenatchee High School, giving the morning bulletin. I was probably 17 years old, 16 then. Every homeroom had no choice but to listen to me. Here's what's going on around Wenatchee High School today. And from there, I was in a circus in Wenatchee too. I know a lot of people, it's hard to believe that I spent some time in a youth circus in my early teens until I was 18. And then I went on to be a professional circus performer in Australia as a high wire walker, which this is me on the high wire.
I got to see that. Let me get this out here and show that. Keep it up there. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
But not long after arriving, I was asked to fill in for the very ill ringmaster. So I wrote up some notes on index cards, and that's kind of where my professional microphone experience started when I was 18. And then I went on through school and always did radio and TV broadcast and production, comm degree from Washington State, where I was also a mic man. And I was always doing something with the microphone in hand.
Wow.
So it takes years of experience of microphone experience and talking in front of a live audience to actually have the confidence to say, I wonder if I can build a business out of this. As a morning disc jockey in Sun Valley for many years, almost 20 years, I was always asked to be the auctioneer or MC for little grassroots fundraisers that included, maybe one of our local residents had cancer, didn't have enough insurance, their house burned down, they needed immediate help. They got in an accident and needed help to just get through. The community always came together, and I was always the one that was asked to handle the microphone. So I decided in the late 90s that I would go to auction school. I was actually in the cell phone business at the time in the early days. But I was the only one that went to this Montana auction school with no cowboy boots, no cowboy hat, and all I wanted to do was charity events. I didn't want to do cattle or swine or cars or anything like that. I just wanted to do charity events, and everybody thought I was crazy, but I made a lot of friends there along the way. As a radio show host in Sun Valley for so long, I literally probably interviewed every celebrity you can name. And through time, I ended up being offered an opportunity to work with Christopher Reeve.
Wow.
As you mentioned, Superman. And after doing an event with him in Vail, Colorado for spinal cord research, and this was right around the some of the Columbine time. Two ways that car accidents and gunshot wounds are the biggest cause of spinal cord injuries. However, obviously with Christopher, it was a horseback riding accident. But at any rate, I just built from there. The last event I did for him was in Times Square at the Marquee for his 50th birthday party, and at that event, I was approached by Rita Hayworth's daughter to do their event, which was at the Waldorf Astoria, probably the coolest event venue in the world at the time. And they asked me to come back the next week and do the event for the Rita Hayworth Gala for Alzheimer's, and kind of built from there. A lot of what I did was based on all these celebrity events I was doing. I was just pretty much thrown into the deep end, sink or swim sort of thing. And after Chris passed away, which was shortly after I moved to Boise in 2003, he passed in the next year. I started to focus more in the West and the Northwest, and not travel back east so much to fundraising events. And I wasn't really getting paid. I was flying first class. I had great food and great resume builders, but I wasn't getting paid. When I moved to Boise in 2003, literally, I wanted to just be in a bigger pond. I wanted to be closer to a bigger airport. And in Boise, nobody was getting paid. So business wasn't really booming. I was still in the cell phone business while I was building my business as a benefit auctioneer. And probably about 16, 17 years ago, I was finally able to do it full time. So I've been doing it for 30 years, but really professionally as a for real trusted and effective business for nonprofits to help them raise more money through their events. Was where my focus was. And I spent time with nonprofits as well. I was on the board of directors of Make-A-Wish for 6 years. I took over as development director for 1 year. I also worked on the $15 million YMCA project up in Sun Valley as a board member there. And I just really believe in volunteering. And I know that so many nonprofits could not even exist without the volunteer base. And quite a lot of volunteers are also financial supporters as well. But anyway, after years and years of doing it for free, I finally started to build a business. And it didn't happen overnight. I've always been a public speaker. I've always done something in front of a live audience. It apparently, I'm more afraid of snakes than I am to stand up on stage and speak. For some, it's the other way around. But anyway, I built it. I worked very hard to create a value for the nonprofits to be able to justify actually compensating someone for the work that I did. And I did it for a long time with literally no competition. There might have been about a half a dozen of us across the country that did these major fundraising events. But we didn't have as many fundraising events then as we do now. And the pool of benefit auctioneers has grown considerably. And I'm pretty proud to say that, I paved the way for some of those younger auctioneers that, or people that wanted to do what I do, because it is a for real thing. And it is a very important element of effective fundraising when it comes to events. And I love it. I can't wait to get back to it. Since being out of it, I've, to use the overused word pivot, I still do fundraising events, but in the virtual world. I don't embrace it as much as I do the in-person contact I get and the joy I get watching people's faces, but it has to be done. They have to raise money for their missions. And I did about a half a dozen of them in October, including the chambers, and I thoroughly enjoy them. I have a lot of fun. They are a lot of work, but really what it comes down to is I'm not really an auctioneer. I'm an MC. Right. And that's kind of what we're building, are these television shows that hopefully keep the interest of the viewer and engaged, and they have been an effective form of raising money without being able to be together in person.
Wow. I am always amazed at how well you can look at a script and have it in front of you, but still talk to people without really looking at the script too much. It seems like you're able to digest the story. You're able to digest and repeat the auction items so well and with such class. I'm very impressed by the time that you've spent. You went to auctioneer school. You've got to work with all these nonprofits over the years, so you've really honed in your presentation. And I was going to ask you how you were able to shift your sales and provide auctioneer your organization's your business to the nonprofits, and you kind of explained that a little bit. But what did you think as we're going through this pandemic? Were there a lot of cancellations with you, or how did that work? Tell us about that.
Well, like I said, I did the last one first weekend of March down in LA. I came back, and literally the next day, events started being canceled. My next one was in Park City, then Northern California. I had a very full March and April and through the rest of the year. But when they started to cancel in March, I just thought, that's all right. I've got a good year set up. I'll ski. So I've got my bondage pass, my bogus pass, and I love to be on the mountain. That's a big part of my life. And then in April, all the April events started to cancel. So I basically said, well, this is starting to get serious, but there's still ski season. And then ski season was pulled out from underneath us. So I just thought, okay, well, and at that time, my March and April clients that had events already scheduled, they were starting to reschedule them for late May, early June, some a little later. But by the end of April, so many of the organizations that had rescheduled had to reschedule.
Yeah.
And then finally, some of them just said, we're going to wait until next year. But those that even a couple of that said that, no, we're not going to do a virtual event. We're not going to do anything like that. We'll just wait till next year. This is going to blow over. Well, it hasn't, and it didn't. And so a lot of those organizations that were really, putting up a wall against that have already realize that they have to do them. I mean, they have to raise money. Nonprofits need our help now more than ever, I would say, because of this pandemic, and they rely on these events, many of them, for their entire year's budget. In particular, like Boys and Girls Club, well over half their budget goes toward, is funded through the Big Wild West auction. Same with Make-A-Wish. I mean, the list goes on. Schools probably have the best built-in audience for their virtual fundraisers because they're, family. But when it comes to organizations that aren't a nonprofit type of school or that kind of thing, they do struggle to keep people engaged in their fundraising efforts, to keep their supporters. It's been great here in Boise because I do see so many organizations still being able to count on their sponsors, being able to count on their major donors, and being able to count on the volunteers that still keep them going because they can't stop what they're doing. They have to keep going. I think we're all just learning how to do it a little more thriftily.
Well, I think one thing that sets you apart, Larry, is your passion for the nonprofits that you're doing your auctioneer for. I mean, I was looking at your website today and I saw the St. Luke's Children's Hospital fundraiser that you did with them. That was so much fun to watch and see you get funny and animated. And
that was my very first one.
that was so much fun. And looking at that and looking at the Boys and Girls, the Wild Wild West, and then the Jackalope one that I saw on your website. But I have your website down here for everybody to see. But I really love the fact that when you were at our gala and we were doing a dry run, I had bid on an item and you're like, what's that item? I want to outbid you. It's just like that fun and game back and forth. I think really sets you apart as why people hire Larry Flynn Benefits. It's your involvement in the community. It's your involvement with that nonprofit. Your passion shows for that nonprofit organization. So thank you for what you do. It's really empowered, other nonprofits to hit those elevated goals that they're trying to achieve to, enhance the lives of those that their causes is a part of. So thank you for your, absolutely, Larry.
Thank you very much. And I do, I approach every client as if they're my only client, and I care about their mission as much as they do. I think it's really important that I immerse myself in the mission of the nonprofit I'm working for. So I know a little bit more about the nonprofit while I'm on stage than the actual audience members do. I want it to appear as though I don't want it to appear, it's real. But I do care about the efforts they're going through. And again, that just comes from years of knowing. Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. In 1990, I went down to Los Angeles. I was living in Sun Valley. I was doing a radio show there, but I had the opportunity to work on the Matlock TV show as an actor.
Wow.
And I went down there. Got there on a Wednesday night. On Thursday morning, I was getting a private golf cart tour of Universal Studios. And then a little later in the day at lunch, I got to have a one-on-one with Andy Griffith. And everything was going the way that my life was intended. And after, a few auditions and little bit parts here and there, I actually contracted viral pneumonia. And this is in 1990. And I was in the hospital in Van Nuys at the same time. Muppets creator Jim Henson was in the hospital across town. We both had exactly the same thing. And unfortunately, he didn't come out of there breathing as I did. And little did I know, my friends back in Ketchum were doing a fundraiser for me, because I had always done these little grassroots fundraising things for people while I was on the radio. And they raised almost $5,000 for me to be able to recover for a couple months without worrying about where the money was going to come from. And I feel like I've been giving back ever since. I think
you paid it. You paid your way.
But it really was something that I'll never forget. And the founder of Expedition Inspiration Breast Cancer Research Fund, Laura Evans, such a close friend that believed in me when she founded that organization. She said, "I want you to be our auctioneer." I go, "I have no idea what that means," but she just said, "Larry, you can do this." And it did start from people pushing me back then on what to do. But I guess there was just no question in my mind. I found the niche in public speaking that I loved, and I love what people can do collectively for organizations that need help, and to actually be paid for it is a bonus.
Oh, absolutely.
And it took a long time to create the value of that service, because that's what it is, to apply a price tag to it. And my prices are all over the board. It just depends on what the needs are, and a lot of times I choose a charity or two that I just want to do it for. No charge, gratis. But I believe everybody that's coming up in this world, in this profession, if you will, should spend time internally with nonprofits, volunteer, get to know why they're so passionate themselves about the organization they work with.
Yeah.
And I think everybody that does what I do truly have a compassion. It's not about the money. It's about what we're doing, what money we're raising for the organization that needs it. And if we get paid, that's great. I've been a huge believer in do what you love, the money will follow. And it just took a long time to get here. And then 2020, and this Friday, the 13th.
Well,
2020.
Larry, we could talk all day, and I'm so glad that we have a relationship with you at the Chamber, and we love having you part of the Chamber, and what you do in this community to help other nonprofits is extraordinary. So, Larry, thank you so much again for your investment in our Chamber, your investment in this community, and for your time today. It's really appreciated.
Well, thanks very much, Paul. I truly believe in what the Chamber does for the community and for businesses. As I mentioned before we went on, back around 99, 2000, I'm the former Haley Chamber of Commerce president. I mean, I truly believe in what the Chamber does, and I'm proud to be a part of the Boise Metro Chamber, and thanks for having me today.
Absolutely, Larry. Hey, have a great holiday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye, Larry.